Good afternoon, all of you. I welcome you, all of you, for 3-day FDP on recent developments in material science and radiation technology. So today we have a speaker, Dr. Eshwarappa, Associate Professor from Mandya University. So, completed his PhD degree in nuclear radiation physics from Mangalore University in 2018, and completed a Dept degree in computer science and technology from University of Mysuru in 2003. And also he got UGC CSIR Dept with the JRF from CSIR Government of India in 2001. And completed his PG from University Nuclear Physics in 1997. And he worked as an assistant professor in Government Science College Hassan, and also he worked for assistant professor in the Government First Grade College Shivalingaswamy from 2014 to 2019. Achievements and awards. The best paper award, UGC CSR Junior Research Fellowship, and as well as Senior Research Fellowship from Government of India in 2002 and as well as 2004. And is advocated and characterizes the microtron-based and photon-neutron source and as well as neutron radiation assembly involved at Microtron Center in Mangalore University. And best paper award in National Center and Quality Assurance as well as Quality Systems in 2016. And also he has so many life members of our Indian Association of Physics as well as Nuclear Track Society of India, Nuclear Association of Radiation, etc. And his areas of interest is neutron production studies using particle accelerators, gamma ray backscattering, neutron and gamma image, and as well as nanoparticles and gamma detections. And he has administrative responsibility as like BOS, BOE in Mandya, PES Mandya, and as well as Reva University Bangalore and Bangalore Central College. And also his research product, backscattering gamma scanning system for online inspections of industrial processes columns. So GST funding, a project budget of about 5 lakhs, and he completed his project in 2007. And he published national and as well as international papers of about more than 30 papers. And also he attended so many international conferences, and he got a best paper award in the international conferences. And he also guiding students from the area of gamma area shielding studies, and he attended so many workshops and has given so many invited talks. He is presently working in Davangere University in the Department of Physics. So we are very happy today we have as a speaker of Eshwarappa. So I think I welcome Dr. Eshwarappa for this 3-day workshop FDP. So thank you, sir. So we have with you today. So and the session over to Dr. Eshwarappa, sir. Hello, sir.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh. So thank you very much, Dr. Dilip. So and also, as we know, today we are all gathered here on National webinar on recent developments in material science and technology. I'm very pleased to be with you on this academic occasion. So I welcome all the participants once again to this webinar. So with this introductions, I will be switching over to my talk. So my talk is on radiation science and technology. Please let me know my voice is. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir. You're audible properly. No problem.
Oh, thank you very much. So radiation technology comprising the both gamma radiators and high energy accelerators. In addition to this, nowadays we will also have the technology based on neutron radiations. I will be touching on all these technologies based on gamma irradiators, high energy accelerators, and also neutron radiation based technologies. Of course, these radiation technologies have a lot of industrial and societal benefits in the field of polymer, healthcare, and food and environmental fields. Before developing my talk, I will be briefly explaining what are the various units of radiation doses we generally use in measuring the radiation amount of radiation delivered to the substance, or amount of radiation exposure, or amount of radiation absorbed. The well-known unit which we are generally using are RAD, radiation absorbed dose. It is simply an amount of radiant energy absorbed in a certain amount of tissues. So I will be going to define and quantify this radiation absorbed in terms of a unit, what is known as a grain. A unit of absorbed radiation is equal to the dose of 1 joule of energy absorbed per kilogram. It means that 1 joule of energy absorbed in a 1 kilogram of a matter, which is equal to what is known as a 1 grain, which is also equal to the 100 rad. Rad is a very small unit, so that is why the unit gray has been defined. The name of a British physician, so L. Harold Gray. So another unit we are using is a unit of that is REM, Roentgen equivalent man. It takes into account the different biological responses to different kinds of radiation, which means that, say for example, the 1 MeV neutron will have a different effect. I mean, Roentgen equivalent man, whereas 1 MeV gamma ray has a different Roentgen, different value of Roentgen equivalent man, and alpha has a difference. So that is why, so biological response to different kind of radiations will be taking into account a unit called REM, Roentgen equivalent man. So the radiation quantity measured by the REM is called equivalent dose. Another unit, so I think we all have come across, is the Roentgen. It's an exposure. So whatever so far I said in the case of gray and radiations are absorbed dose, whereas Roentgen is an exposure dose. Whatever the radiations emitted by the radiation source, if certain object is exposed, that is the measure of what is known as Roentgen. So Roentgen is named after Professor Roentgen, the man who discovered X-rays in 1895. So another unit is the sievert, which is actually the widely used unit in the case of radiation biophysics. It's a unit for measuring ionizing radiation effective dose, which accounts for relative sensitivities of different tissues and organs exposed to the radiations. So for the same radiations of the same energy, the sievert, I mean, the amount of radiation effective dose delivered to the eye tissues is different, whereas dose delivered to the some other parts of the body is somewhat different. It's all depends upon depends upon the sensitivities of the different tissues or organs exposed to the radiations. So the radiation quantity measured by the sievert is called an effective dose as far as biological effectiveness is concerned. So now let us move on to today's topic. So I will be first explaining the radiation technologies in industry. Before going to that, let us briefly have some discussion on what is how the radiation interacts with matter. All of you have studied how the gamma ray interaction with matter, and how electron and charged particle interaction with matter, and also to some extent you know how the neutron is also interacting with matter. Depending upon the way that these radiations interact with the matter, so based on those, different applications have been evolved, and some of the applications are based on the effects of these radiations while interacting with the matter, and some of the applications are based on the absorption of this radiation. I mean, just image of by some of the applications are mainly based on image using these radiations. So this X-ray radiography, neutron radiography, or these are all relatively old technology. This is not I'm going to discuss today. So just for sake of completeness, I am taken this. In case of X-ray radiography, so all you know, X-ray imaging and X-ray radiography using the film-based for radiography. Nowadays, even this X-ray radiography and neutron radiography has been replaced with a digital imaging using the CCD camera. The film-based radiography is outdated, so now they are using digital technique for X-ray and neutron radiography. So what are the advantages of these? I mean, how when you have X-ray radiography, why need to have a neutron radiography? So, is there any other information which can obtain by the X-ray radiography and neutron radiography? Whether the X-ray radiography cannot obtain any some sort of information, or whether a neutron radiography can obtain the information which could not be obtained using the X-ray radiography. Those are the things so we all well known. It's all mainly depends upon the properties of X-rays, or in general, or you can also have photons, light photons. So X-rays are of light photons of very high energy. See, both are neutral particles. X-ray is a neutral particle, neutron is also a neutral particle. Whereas X-ray is an electromagnetic radiation, and the neutron is a neutral particle. So, yeah, so in the case of X-ray and neutron, they have a very unique properties. X-ray can highly absorb or highly attenuate in the IZ material, which means in a high atomic number here. Whereas neutrons are, on the contrary, neutrons are highly absorbed in the low Z material like hydrogenous material, low Z like 1, 2, 3 atomic number. This is the property where we are exploiting the neutron radiography. In the case of neutron radiography, see, suppose if there are some certain substances enclosed within a very high Z element, like for example, if you are incorporating some low Z material like hydrogenous material or some sort of carbon or some sort of protein or some sort of contraband material like drugs or whatever this contraband material. So these the people who smuggle these items are generally enclosed in a very high atomic number material like lead. The lead container they are actually smuggling. So in the case of X-ray, in that case, X-ray radiography will not come into help. Come into our help. So for that, we need to go for the neutron radiography because neutron can easily penetrate. It can penetrate through the lead. Even a 1 meter of a lead is in a 1 meter of lead neutrons of even thermal energy neutron can also be easily penetrate through this lead, such a thick lead. Whereas X-ray cannot pass through such a 1 meter thick lead. So that is the uniqueness of these neutron radiations. So we can take the information regarding those material which are enclosed within the high Z material using the neutron radiography. Whereas in the case of X-ray, of course, which are highly absorbed in the high Z material, so we can take the information of high Z material. So when it is enclosed or when it is enclosed within a very low Z material, or in general, we can take the information regarding any cavities or flaws present in the materials. What actually means the difference. So, and further, I will be teaching upon this elemental analysis using the neutron radiations. We can also, these are the recent technologies, that is synthesis of nanomaterial using radiations. And also, there's a device property modification of radiation. Since it's a little bit old technology, it's not a new technology. Since for sake of completeness, I also maybe I will going to touch upon that if time permits. And polymerization using radiation and synthesis of porous polymer synthesis. Porous polymer will also be going to discuss as far as industrial application is concerned. I will be also talking on some other applications if time permits. So let me first take this phase contrast imaging technique. So far, whatever we have already seen, generally seen in the case of X-ray radiography or even neutron radiography, these radiographies are based on the absorption of the X-rays or neutrons. Whether it is a neutron radiography or X-ray, depending upon that, it's based on the absorption properties of the material. In the case of phase contrast or phase, it is also sometimes referred as a phase sensitive imaging. Phase sensitive imaging. So let me explain what do you mean by a phase sensitive imaging or a phase contrast imaging. When a coherent wave field propagates through an object, phase differences arise between different parts of the wave. These are due to the spatial variation in the refractive index of the object. For example, for X-ray wavelength is the refractive index is given by the n is equal to 1 minus delta plus beta, where this phase part is delta, where and beta is an imaginary part. Is generally, we know the refractive index is an imaginary quantity which comprises of both observation part. Imaginary part indicates absorption, whereas the real part is the phase part. So in the phase contrast imaging technique, we are exploiting the changes in the phase as the wave, the radiation propagates through an object. In the regular radiography, we are exploiting the absorption, that is the beta term. The phase contrast imaging, we are actually using the changes which has been happened in the phase part of the wave when they travel or propagate to an object. So therefore, the phase contrast X-ray imaging or even neutron imaging has a great potential for application in medicine, biology. So it enables to differentiate between the different kinds of the soft tissue. So let me go in detail. Neutrons and X-ray provide, so they can enter interior parts of the object depending upon their energy. So with the development of recent, because of the advancements in the detector technology and the availability of new radiation sources, very high intense radiation sources, several new imaging techniques using X-rays and neutrons have emerged and have found widespread application in industry, material science, and medical imaging. In the last 2 decades, because of advancement in the radiation detector techniques and advancement in the availability of the very highly intense source, so various imaging techniques, very advanced imaging techniques have been developed. So because in the conventional based radiography using either X-ray or neutron, uh, we are generally in the olden days we are using the film, X-ray films. Nowadays, as I told already, so we are using the digital imaging techniques, which has revolutionized the way images are acquired and analyzed. The imaging has expanded its scope from conventional qualitative radiography to a quantitative imaging techniques. So, what is the actually conventional approaches? The thing which we are exploiting, as I said already, is the absorption of the radiation. Now we are going to exploit what is the change in the phase. That is the very important thing which we are encountered in the case of phase sensitive imaging. So what are the advantages? Because the phase is very sensitive, phase of the wave is very sensitive, even a small changes in the atomic number of neighboring atomic number material or the composition of the material, it leads the very considerable change in the phase. Yes, it can distinguish between the hard and soft substances. It's and of course the limitations of the absorption-based radiography or imaging is its inability to distinguish between different kinds of soft materials. I mean, soft material, I'm here referring to the a low atomic number material. For example, a carbon composites or small carbon coatings or between tumors and surrounding normal tissue. So in the normal, if you take the image of based on the absorption technique, so sometimes we are not able to distinguish between the normal tissues and then cancer tissue. But if you take a phase sensitive imaging, definitely we can distinguish, because there will be a certain phase change when it travels through these type of different tissues, comprises of then both normal cells and then tumor cells. So, let me go the detailed science behind this. Behind this phase sensitive imaging, I'm going to exploiting the change in the phase part of that. As I told you already, the real part corresponds to the phase shift due to the scattering, and imaginary part corresponds to the absorption of the wave. At the typical energies, for example, say 10 to 100 kilowatt, the corresponding equivalent energy is 100 kV to the 110 kV. The phase shift term in the index of refraction varies 100 times greater than the absorption term. This is the what is actually advantageous for us. Same radiations, for the same radiation, change in the phase when it is passes or travels through a certain tissue or a certain material, the change in the phase is 100 times more than the corresponding absorption terms. Hence, this change in greater change in the phase would a very high contrast images with the neighboring tissues or neighboring materials. Hence, the images based on the phase contrast effect are still visible for such a material, even though absorption contrast is poor, and it shows much greater detail, particularly of boundaries and edges. This imaging techniques, named phase-sensitive imaging, is being explored to remove the limitations of conventional absorption-based imaging. So this technique promises to revolutionize the way the material with a low atomic mass, and medical imaging of soft tissues have been conducted till now. Experiments conducted using this approach have shown unprecedented clarity in the image of the composite materials. You're going to see some examples of the image taken using these type of techniques at the end of the definition of this particular concept. Because this technique is can be employed because, as I said, because of the recent advancement in the imaging, advancement in the X-ray sources. Because nowadays there are X-rays, microfocus X-rays also available, and also synchrotron-based X-ray sources also available. You know, the synchrotron-based X-ray sources very high intense source of X-rays. And also microfocus X-ray source is also relatively high intense source. Of course, the intensity of this microfocus X-ray source is less compared to the synchrotron-based X-ray source. Yes, because of this high intense source, it's possible to use this sensitive imaging techniques in the industrial and medical applications. The synchrotron sources are able to provide X-rays which meet the criteria of both temporal and spatial coherence, and hence these are ideal sources for the phase-sensitive imaging applications. You know, what do you mean by temporal and spatial coherence? The temporal coherence refers to the preservation of the phase of the two field points at two different instead of time, whereas the spatial coherence refers to the preservation of a phase between the 2 points of the same wavefront over a time t. These two characteristics are met by synchrotron sources. A large number of techniques also been developed to obtain the phase-enhanced X-ray images. The technique is called inline X-ray phase contrast imaging, where the edge enhancement in the image occur as a result of interference between the diffracted ray and direct rays at the boundaries of the object. See, for example, here The formation of the images using this technique, the requirement of spatial coherence is more important than the temporal coherence. In the case of microfocus, uh, where the edge enhancement images occur as a result of interference between the diffracted rays. So here, in the case of requirement of spatial image coherence is more important in this case than the temporal coherence. Hence, we can use the microfocus X-ray sources also. We need not to use the synchrotron-based X-ray sources for this type of application where edge enhancement interference has taken place. So for example, here, this is an image using the microfocus X-ray source. This is an image of an bee. See, the very minute information we can obtain, internal structure, body structure of this bee, everything is very clearly seen. This is actually the advantages of this phase sensitive imaging. The same thing has been taken using the absorption method. This picture would have been simply a black patch. So these fine information, so these fiber structures will not be able to see in a conventional absorption-based imaging. So that is how the change in the phase of the wave has been exploited here. So here, actually, it's an image of an zirconia microsphere, which is coated with a pyrocarbon, the 40 micrometer thickness. See, you just concentrate on the edges of these microspheres. The coating, you can clearly see that coating of the carbon, 40 micrometer carbon. So this clarity we would not able to obtain using the conventional absorption-based image. That's not possible. So here, actually, when a wave travel through travel into this microsphere, change in the phase when it travels on the surface of the coating and when it enter well into the sphere, altogether very, very high. So there is a large change in the phase. So yeah, the very good contrast of the image can be obtained. So with this, I'm going to the next techniques or technology of the radiations. So that is material modifications. I'm going to give this one to one to our example. There are plenty of examples of material modifications, various material modifications we can have with the radiations. I'm just explaining by taking the example of polymer. So we can modify the polymers or using these radiations, electron radiations, or you can also use this gamma radiations also. Here I'm telling the polymer modification, the high energy electron beam. The radiation process polymers processes is superior. Why? What is the reason why you need to this material modification? It has been observed that the polymer possesses superior mechanical and electrical and thermal stability compared to the conventional cross-linked ones. The reactive species generated in the polymer, like polyolefin, when it is exposed to the high energy electrons, are responsible for the cross-linking of the formation of the cross-linking or network in a polymer. When the polymer is exposed to the radiations like gamma radiations or electrons, so it generates the reactive species in the polymer, what is known as the polyolefin. So this is actually responsible for the cross-linking. Because of the cross-linking takes place when it is exposed to the radiations, hence this polymer possesses this radiation processed polymers possesses the superior mechanical, electrical, and thermal stability compared to the conventional cross-linked polymers. So because of this cross-linking, it increases, resulting in increased molecular weight, and hence because of that, improved physical characteristics like viscosity of the polymer, tensile strength, elongations, high temperature, dimensional stability. All these things are improved. These properties are getting improved when it is irradiated with an either electron beam or a gamma radiation. See, this is the one applications of these polymerizations using the radiations, where the very long polymer pipes have been exposed to the radiations, and these pipes are placed in a conveyor belt, so where they can constantly move, and there will be radiation sources at the top, and the speed of this conveyor belt has been decided, or we can keep one after the other. So when keeping the pipes, these pipes in a container one after other, it's a very tedious process. So people are using the conveyor belt where within a predetermined speed of movement of the conveyor belt, it delivers the certain dose of radiation so that it get crosslinks have been formed in these polymer pipes, hence the properties have get improved. So, radiation-induced polymerization and polymer modifications. What are these polymer modifications and radiation modification taken place upon irradiation of exposed to the radiation? That is surface curing, cross-linking, degradations of the polymers. So these are all the things is going to happen. Hence, these are the changes actually brought a value addition to the products through environmental friendly and economically beneficial way. And hence, it has emerged as a multi-million dollar industry. So this is this particular picture I'm wanted to show here. See, this is an actually microtron which is working, which is there at the Mangalore University. So where a lot of research is going on using this electron beam, and here also we can get gamma radiation also in the same machine. Only thing is we need to place the high atomic number material in the path of the electron beam so that you will get a photon beam. So see, this picture, particular picture, this is after this white patch is what is it measures the how many means what is the electron beam current coming out of this microtron. So after this, at the exit point of the electron beam, and at this place, this is an actually a perspex sheet where you are keeping the sample for electron irradiation. This is actually perspex is in a polymer. We are regularly keeping this as a supporting material for keeping our experimental samples. Like we used to do some sort of research using this electron beam, that is semiconductor radiation effects on the semiconductor, or biophysics experiments and radiation effects on the blood, or what is the radiation effects on some food items like onion, tomato, things like that, electron radiation effects on. So while placing this, because this particular material we are constantly using as a support, see, this is what is actually the effect of this electron beam. Constant it's being exposed to the electron beam, this perfect sheet has get degraded. This is actually an electron damaging electron beam damages effect on this perfect polymer. This is actually a live example. One live example, polymer degradations using the electron radiations. Now let me move on to the one more another application, which is now based on the neutron radiations. So the neutron radiations not only can be used for imaging, as I said earlier, for neutron radiation, it can also be used for elemental analysis. This particular neutron activation analysis technique is used to for estimating the elements in a certain sample. So, for example, if I given a soil sample, what are the various elements present in the soil sample? So we can estimate using either chemical method, or we can using some other X-ray fluorescence techniques. Once the same elemental analysis can also be done using a neutron activation analysis. Here, actually, what is the advantages of this neutron activation analysis? Is an NDT, non-destructive technique. So you we need not to suppose if I give some sort of an artifact, a very valuable artifact or some sample, I not broke or dissolved. In the case of chemical method, I need to dissolve that material in order to make an elemental analysis. Some chemical processing I need to make. But in this case, so you just expose whatever the sample in its present form to the neutron radiation, particularly the low neutron energy radiation. So we will get the information. The principle behind that neutron activation analysis is that upon exposure to the neutron radiation, the elements present in the sample, each and every element present in the sample, uh, captured these neutrons, captured these low energy neutrons. As a result, the captured nuclear reaction has been taken place, and as a result of that, each and every element present in the sample emits their own characteristic gamma rays. Either the gamma ray emission can be delayed; it is called the delayed gamma ray, and it can be instantaneous emission of gamma ray. It is called prompt gamma ray. Prompt gamma ray. So if you are analyzing this prompt gamma ray for elemental analysis, then the technique is called PG, prompt gamma neutron activation, PGNE. If you are using the delayed gamma ray for the elemental analysis, it is called simply a neutron activation analysis. Generally, people are using the delayed gamma ray because uh, doing the prompt gamma ray neutron activation is somewhat requires a lot of advanced techniques where there's a background of neutrons will also be there. In the case of delayed gamma ray neutron activation, so you need not to keep the sample. You can take the you can take the sample out of the radiation environment, and there in the other where the neutron radiation free room, there we can analyze the post irradiation analysis can be made. So in that case, of course, the sensitivity is less in the case of delayed gamma rays compared to the prompt gamma rays. But still, we can estimate up to nanogram using using the delayed gamma rays. Whereas in the case of prompt gamma rays, we can estimate even the presence of element up to the picograms also. So here, if you look at the graph, so if we expose to the sample to the neutron radiation and bring that exposed sample to the input on the gamma detector like sodium iodide detector or hyperpure germanium detector, you will get a spectra like this. What are these peaks? The peak corresponds to this is an accounts versus energy. The different elements are emitting different gamma energy gamma rays. Each gamma energy is a characteristic of the element present in that sample. So by knowing the energy of the gamma, so we can say this particular element is present in the sample. By knowing the intensity, I mean counts, we can quantify what is the amount of the particular element present in the sample, whether it's a nanogram, 1 nanogram, 2 nanogram, like that we can quantify. So by measuring the intensity area under the curve of each peak, we can measure or we can quantify the presence of the element by knowing the energy, of these peaks. So we can say this particular material. So for example, in a particular sample, so the thermal neutrons or low energy neutrons are exposed to the neutron radiation. Suppose the particular sample, say the gold is there. For example, in our ornaments, so the gold, copper, manganese. So we know that gold emits characteristic gamma of the gold is at 412 keV, 412 keV. If the peak corresponds to 400 keV analyzed, we can say what is the amount of the gold present in our ornament, percentage wise, whether it is 91% or 92% or below 91%, like that. So in addition to that, we will also get the percentage of manganese or other copper present in the gold. So like that, we can go with a very high precision, and particularly this is an NDT. No need to break the sample, no need to. So if it is in the container, we can as such, you can give back to the user the container. Just expose, take a spectra and give the information. I mean, elemental analysis report to the user. No need to break or dissolve or something like that. Hence, it's called an NDT, non-destructive techniques. The another applications are another technologies so based on the radiation. So these are all the recent technologies. Still, the advanced technology these technologies not yet been in the market. The porous polymer synthesis, the technology based on is not yet in the market. They're still under research. Okay, so here the porous polymer synthesis. The porous polymers have very good application in the field of chromatography, hydrophobic chromatography, affinity chromatography of large molecules. These are all having these porous polymers having application for separation and purification of proteins, antibodies, and viruses. So these porous polymers can be synthesized using these radiations. So we can also synthesize the monoliths with the same chemical structure, but various sizes, shapes, and porous characteristic depending upon the applications. So here idea is to study the radiation-induced polymerization, cross-linking of a monomer solutions. Investigate the pore formation during the radiation-initiated synthesis. Here, actually, we are synthesizing the polymer using the radiations. Here, so actually, what are the various factors affecting the properties of the final polymer? Final porous polymer are monomer concentration, which monomer concentration is monomer solution concentration, and the type of the solvent is used for solving this monomer, and at what temperature you are irradiating this monomer, and what is the dose and dose rate. Dose means it is total dose, time integrated dose. Suppose uh, 1 kilogram per second, if you are continued for 1 minute, so 1 hour, it's called the so whatever the total dose delivered up to 1 hour, it's called the dose. And dose rate is 1 kilogram per hour. Per unit time, what is the dose delivered is referred to known as dose rate. The time integrated dose is called the total dose, radiation dose delivered to the cell. So, because these are the factors which affects the final polymer, by varying these, by varying any one of these, you will get a different polymer monolith. So obviously, we can get a polymer monolith of different size, pore size, different other properties. Monoliths can be obtained depending upon the application. Because I said, various applications like separation and purification of proteins, antibodies, and viruses. These are requires different monoliths, porous polymer monoliths. Depending upon the what is applications. Like some of the applications needs a very small size porous, and the shapes also matter. Shape of the polymer is also matter for some of the applications. And pore characteristics is also very important for some of the applications. So, how to get the different monoliths of this type of properties by varying these properties like concentration, type of solvent, irradiation temperature, and dose and dose. So, accordingly, we can uh, get different polymer monoliths. Polymer monoliths suited for different applications can be synthesized by studying the effect of synthesis conditions on the properties of monoliths, predominantly with the respect to the size, porous structure, and the flow characteristics. So another applications or another technologies is radiolysis-based synthesis of plasmonic metal nanoparticles. See, what is exactly the meaning of plasmons? Plasmons are the oscillations of free electrons that are the consequence of the formation of the dipole in a material due to the electromagnetic waves. These are the free oscillations of free electrons. Plasmonic nanoparticles exhibit interesting scattering and absorbance and coupling properties based on the geometry and relative positions. See, why we need to prepare the plasmonic nanoparticles? Because of these properties. Because these nanoparticles are exhibiting a interesting scattering, absorbance, and coupling properties. And these unique properties have made them a focus of research in many applications, including solar cells, spectroscopy, signal enhancement for imaging, and cancer treatment. Why we need to do this? plasmonic nanoparticles. Because, say, for example, in the case of solar cells, the presently available solar cell not able to convert all the incoming light into usable energy. The efficiency of the solar cell is not more than whatever technology presently we're using. It is not more than 40%. This is mainly because some of the light escape back into the environment. Moreover, because of a different color component of the sunlight, solar cell might be more efficient to particular color and less efficient to some colors. It depends on the color also. The efficiency of solar depends on the color of the incident light. The wavelength or frequency of the efficiency also matters. How to do this here? How to overcome this? How to increase the efficiency of the solar cell by using the plasmonic nanoparticle? The idea is that the introduction of a small electrical disturbance called surface plasma. When light shines, electrons waves set up on the surface of the metal. Here, we are going to introduce some sort of electrical disturbance, what are known as surface plasma. How do you when it actually this surface plasma creates when a light shines on material? So because of this, electrons were set up on the surface of the metal. These electrons wave move like a ripple in a water. If the metal is of the form of nanoparticle, the shining of light on this can make these nanoparticles to vibrate and hence scatter the light more effectively. So, in addition to the scattering process, in addition to this, the scattering is strong if the light contains the resonant colors. If the particular material is resonant for particular colors. In addition to this, if the material incident light is resonant with that particular absorption frequency of the material, then the effect is scattering takes place, and the more and more light gets involved in the generation of the electricity. How do you produce this here? These surface plasmonic nanoparticles. How do you produce? Here it is based on the action of radiolysis of water. Actually, we are using the radiolysis of water. Radiolysis means, the electrolysis. Here we are using the radiation for the radiolysis. That's all. Of radiolysis of water will induce by X-ray beams. Either we can use microfocus X-ray sources or we can use a synchrotron-based X-ray sources. Results in the generation of hydrated electrons, which plays then a role of strong reducing agent towards the metal ions. This E minus aqueous and generates as a result of electrolysis of water. This electron is results generates in the case of electrolysis of water. So synchrotron light source provide excess sources of variable energy with a fine control over the wavelength, which could be optimized for the desired applications. X-ray energy is efficient trigger reaction by dosimetry-based radiolysis process, as it commands the reaction rate mechanism and provides the facility to investigate the element-specific electronic structural properties. So, based on this radiolysis, we can we can produce what are the plasmonic nanoparticles. The plasmonic nanoparticles have the unique properties and properties absorbing the most efficiently absorbing the incident light. Hence, we can increase the efficiency of the solar cells. Now we can also synthesize, process radiation, means we can have the nanocomposites which are radiation processed, which are irradiated radiation, exhibit some sort of special properties after it is exposed to the radiation. So here we are using such as ion beams or electron beam for the fabrication of a nanostructured material, which is used in the lithography or membrane for ultrafiltration systems, or membrane for with an electrical magnetic properties as a potential candidate for chemical detectors and biosensors. And many researchers have studied the fabrication of nanostructures materials using electron beam irradiation, particularly in the field of nanolithography. In this process, energy of radiation is deposited in the material via ionization process. So this radiations technology could also be used for coloration of the gem. See, when the radiation, how actually the color changes various gems. See, whatever the gems available in the market are not actually the natural gems. Natural, the color is not like what you are seeing at market. There are actually many gems are the radiation processed gems. So how actually radiation causes the coloring of the gems? Because see, radiation causes electron to be knocked out of some of the atoms. When it is exposed to the radiation, some of the electrons are knocked out of the some atoms, giving them to free to be absorbed by the others. This has the effect of creating the color center, which in turn alter the light absorbing patterns of the gemstone and by extension its color. So in this way, the color of the gems. Only thing is, we need to decide what is the dose we need to deliver to get in a particular color. So it has been established technology. So in order to get a particular colored gem, so we need to deliver a particular dose. So I told you the units of dose, either 1 kilo gray, 2 kilo gray, like that. Total time integrated dose we need to decide. So it is already established technology. Only thing is you need to put the gems and within that research data, so how much of dose you need to deliver to get a pink gems. So if you deliver that much dose, you will get a pink like that. So it is already available in the market. This technology is already being fully used. And now we are going to discuss the radiation technology for the national security. Here and the picture is a gamma ray cargo scanner. See, the entire truck or entire cargo can be scanned using this gamma ray scanner. The advantage here is that if you use the gamma ray scanner, only thing is here it is based on what is known as gamma ray scattering. So um, either you can use the scattering technique or absorption techniques. In the case of absorption technique, so we need to put the source at the one side of the truck and the detector at the other side of the truck. It is somewhat a tedious process. Getting the image in the absorption technology, as I said, it's somewhat tedious. But if we use the scattering technique, what is known as the backscattering technique, so we can place the both detector and the radiation source at the same side. So we are analyzing the backscattered gamma rays. If you analyze the backscattered means the radiation scattered at more than 90 degrees. So means we need to place the detector in the same side as that of the source, the side in which we are placing the source. So this is the information which can obtain using this. So these are all the things where in the border or in the wherever the airports or something like that. So we need to work out things which are present in this container. So this is how the Tama cargo scanner has been made. And of course, this is the very used infrastructure. So because the scanning, we need to, I cannot scan if the truck is moving at a 60 kilometers per hour. So we need to be slow with the speed of the vehicle is concerned. At the same time, it need not be a still stand. You can also move in some low speed so that you can have a better image. Of course, because of the recent advancement in the detector technology, the faster detecting ability of the detectors, even the fast moving trucks can also be scanned at a given instant of time so that you can get a obtain the information. See, this is a particular example where the when trafficking is big. So this is the very problem. I mean, the security issue at the borders. So where the people are entering, maybe the people may be the terrorists or people maybe the human trafficking. For the various reasons, people are doing like that. So that can be caught using this gamma scanner. So here using mainly the backscattered nowadays people are employing the basket. Earlier they were using the absorption techniques. They are using the basket technique. So because it's very sensitive and also easy because we can keep the both the source and the in the same cell. So one another technology based on that radiation or radiation sterilization. Sterilization is an application of radioisotopes towards the healthcare offered on a commercial basis, especially I'm talking with respect to the Indian medical industries because these sterilization units, radiation sterilization units, has been established by Baba Atomic Research Center at various places in India. One such unit is there in the Baba Atomic Research Center. It is called ISOMAT, where all these medical products like disposable syringes, surgical structure, cotton dressing, drugs, and related products have been sterilized. What are the advantages over conventional techniques? Yeah, sterilization, see, here is something like pasteurizations. Pasteurizations, we are using the somewhat heat. Here, we are using the radiation heat. That's all. The sterilization is affected in the final pack so that the product remains sterilized to the point of use. Moreover, the sterilization, radiation-based sterilization, the cold process, heat-sensitive material like plastics used in the medical products are not adversely affected. If you want to sterilize these medical products, which are made of a plastic, it's not possible to using the conventional techniques. Heat sterilization is not overruled here, so that in this case, the radiation sterilization is come in our help. So because there is no heat generations, it simply kills the radiation sterilization simply kills the microbes or present on the this is the actual unit which is being running at Trambe isomer plant, where this medical products, the various boxes of these medical product boxes, we need not to open these boxes or something. As such, they're packed in the industry, medical product manufacturing industry, like that. As such, they can place on this conveyor belt, where it is moving with a certain predetermined speed, so that to ensure the certain predetermined amount of radiation is delivered to the each product or each medical product. Generally used radiation sources are the cobalt 60 of very high activity. Activity of radiation source is the radiations, particle per emission of particle per second. Cobalt emits two gamma rays of 1.16 MeV, 1.133 MeV and 1.17 MeV, and collectively we can estimate what is the dose delivered per second. Like that, we can determine what is the amount of dose per certain period of time, accordingly the requirement of the each and different types of products. So sterilization of medical product, over a million radiation sterilized medical products, kits, and delivered packs at this plant in India. This is the plant which is there at the Mumbai. So another technology based on the radiation is radiation technology in agriculture. How this radiation technology can be employed in this agriculture? See, I'm going a little fast because a lot of things is there to find. So using the radiations, using radiation-induced mutagenesis and hybridization, the people, scientists at BRC, they have actually obtained 30 different varieties, high yield varieties have been developed and released and also gazette notified for the commercial cultivation. It is also well already in the market. People are being using a large number of mutants in the various crop plants under registration with the National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, New Delhi. So, what are the various? So far, actually, see, the people are BRC people have developed around 39 crop varieties. I think supposed to be 39. We had 42 is there. Just consider 32 seed varieties commercial exploitation. Here, actually, see what they are doing is that their mutations they are actually going to affect these exposure of the radiation affect the mutations. And mutation can be in such a way that the crops mature early to withstand the biotic and abiotic stresses and to obtain a better nutritional quality. See, these are all the varieties of the highly high yield crops developed by the BRC scientists. So mustard, sunflower, munga bean, soybean, jute, rice. So these are all already the people have been using. So now we can also employ this radiation technology for food security. So the foods, a lot of food is being harvested after harvestation. So a lot of food is being wasted because of the pathogens, sprouting, pathogens, it get degraded, things like that is going to happen. So obviously, in order to enhance the economic value of the food, and also in order to enhance the shelf life of the product, for the food products, so it is very important to increase the shelf life. So we can use the radiation here. Of course, the common techniques which you have before this irradiation of the food items are chemical spray. We're using the chemicals, but it is actually not good, environmentally not good. It affects human health and environment. So that we need to be inevitably we need to go for some other techniques. One such techniques are the radiations. So the radiation processing provides an effective alternate. In fact, it's a physical process in which food and agriculture commodities are exposed to a controlled doses of radiant energy to achieve a desirable effect such as inhibition of the sprouting and ripening. It inhibits the sprouting. For example, in the case of onion, if you keep this onion after harvesting it, and drying, even after thorough drying, within a 6 month it gets sprouted. Uh, but if you irradiate this onion to the certain level, the predetermined level radiation dose, we can postpone this sprouting even after 1 year. So we will not get. It has been a proven fact. It has been proven. It has been researched. After delivering certain radiation like electron beam or gamma radiation, that we can postpone the sprouting time, and also we can ripening, postpone the ripening so that we can add the commercial value. Suppose if you want to put this onion, tomato, potato, or things like that, we need to have this increase the shelf life. Otherwise, it get destroyed. And even transportation, during transportation itself, there can be in fact these food items can get infected with the parasite, pathogenic spoilage bacteria, so that it gets destroyed very early. So, in order to avoid all those things, in order to economically benefit the farmers, the radiation technology is coming to help. This radiation technology is very effective for elimination of pests, parasites, and pathogens. It can be applied to pre-packaged commodities even under frozen conditions. We need not to open the package if it is a pre-packaged condition, pre-packaged food items. Radiation brings its effect through direct deposition of the energy and large biomolecules, and indirectly through the radiolysis of the water when free radicals so produced interact with the other molecules. Gamma rays from radioisotope, cobalt-60 and electron beams, or X-ray from machine-based radiation sources can be used for processing food. In a way, we can employ either gamma rays or X-rays or electron beams for processing. So these are all the benefit of this radiation exposure. I mean, food irradiation, disinfection of insect pests in the stored products, disinfection of quarantine pests to overcome the international standard trade barriers, delay in ripening, and senescence in the fruits and vegetables, inhibition of sprouting in tubers, bulbs, and rhizomes, destruction of microbes responsible for food foliage, elimination of parasites and pathogens for public health importance in food. So there's some live examples. See, this is an unirradiated. Left one is an unirradiated channel. And this is an irradiated. Even after storing for years together, there is no spoilage of this channel. And the potato, the sprouting has taken place very soon after harvested, and here the sprouting is delayed because of in this particular sample is irradiated one, hence sprouting is delayed, and still it is good condition even after long duration of time. This is even you can also irradiate the rices, and there are because of pathogens and it get destroyed, and this is still good even after a long time. Like that, you can also irradiate the meat items, and some vegetables for otherwise, for example, exporting the fish. So if exporting the fish means we need to keep in the proper refrigerator, all those things. Still, it get spoiled. So bad smell may arises. In that case, if we irradiate this fish certain radiations like electron beam or gamma beam, then is since the surface level microbes or pathogens get killed, and these are all the responsible. These microbes are responsible for bad smell of these food items. So if those microbes are killed using these radiations, hence this will still be in a good condition even after a longer duration of time. This is actually the example because this tomatoes after harvestation gets spoiled with a very minimum time, minimum number of days. So if we irradiate the same tomatoes within say 1 kilogram radiations, even after 10 days, the tomatoes looks like this, which means that we are effectively increase the shelf life of these tomatoes. And altogether, I have completely mentioned everything in this one slide. So whatever, and this is this green symbol on any of the process radiation process in any of the food packet indicate that this particular symbol, it may be the black and white if it is not print. Generally, this particular symbol indicates it is a radiation process food items. Nowadays, it's mandatory for a mandatory to export the food like mango and other things. Radiation processing is very mandatory. Otherwise, it will not be accepted in some advanced country like USA and other things. And of course, this is the one of processing radiation processing unit established by Baba Atomic Research Center. Is at Lasangau district, Nasik district, Lasangau, the place in the Nasik district, where even they have a very good facility. Even an entire truck of an onion can go into them. This is the one truck where the packages get small packages get irradiated. Food items are get irradiated. Even they have other facility where the entire truck can be irradiated at once. And there are the various processing units, technologies developed by Baba Atomic Research Center. Radiation sterilizations comprises of a 3 gamma cobalt irradiators of 3 numbers will be there, and you can also use it as a commercial purpose. And the Krushik gamma 60 gamma plant. This is for sprout inhibition and other low dose applications. Disinfection of spices. Here also they are using cobalt 60 gamma plant. And of course, this is a little bit old and data. It's already there. So whatever the technical demonstration and all commercial services are in full swing. And these are the various facilities established. But in addition to these, there are some other facilities also. BRC technology by transferring the technology developed by various private persons. Hence, nowadays the most part of the country have this facility. This is this particular table shows what is the dose level for a particular process. For example, for a disinfection, we need to deliver the 0.25 kilogram to the 1 kilogram. For food preservation, 1 kilogram to 25 kilogram. For medical sterilization, so 20 to 30 kg. For curing of coatings, 20 to 50 kg. Polymerization, 50 to 100 kilograms. Cross-linking of polymers, we need to deliver very high dose, 100 to 300 kilograms. Depolymerizations, 800 to 2000 kilograms. And coloration of diamonds. Even we can change the diamond colors with a very, very high dose, the 2000 kilogram. So you may be tempted to ask whether what happens with nutrient value of the food when it gets exposed to the radiation. Of course, the nutrient value will not get destroyed even after exposed to the radiation. After thorough research, only this technology has been developed, and it is also endorsed by the World Health Organization, Food Agriculture Organization, Porous Alimentarius Commission, International Plant Protection Convention, World Trade Organization. It is also approved by the international and national regulatory authorities, including US FDA and FSCNZ and FSSSI, and several reputed professional bodies, including American Medical Association, Institute of Food Technologies, and American Nuclear Society, have endorsed this utility and safety and benefits of radiation processing of food. So this radiation technology can also be applied in waste management. So this radiation technology can be applied to the waste treatment, industrial liquid waste treatment, and also sewage sludge treatment, and purification of flue gases, and conversion of agro waste into the animal feed. Here, this particular diagram shows it is a sludge, sewage sludge. It consists of a lot of bacteria and pathogens, and which if you are directly feed to the field, it may lead to other plant diseases, or even it may be going to the food or something like that. So before using this sludge as a fertilizer into the field, so we need to sterilize this. Means we need to purify those, remove those pathogens and things like that, so that we can use this radiation. If we expose this sewage sludge to the radiation, those things will get killed, and after that we can use comfortably use this sewage sludge. We can also use this radiation for converting this high lignin agriculture waste, which cannot be digested by the animals. So after irradiating this agriculture waste radiation, this can be get, it get degraded, and digestibility is get improved after irradiation. Digestibility after eating this irradiated one, the digestibility get increased. Inoculating such decontaminated agro waste with the useful organism like mushrooms, and subsequently improving their nutrition values by fermentation further improves the quality of the animal feed. And also by using the neutrons, we can also go for real-time neutron radiography. So anyway, it is an old technique just for the sake of completeness. So what are other things which can be done using the radiography? That's what I want to do. We can visualize the two-phase flow and measurement of void fraction. Suppose if there is a very huge blades, for example, aeroplane blades. So even little flaws or little damage in those blades of the wing can cause catastrophic effects. So in order to identify that very small faults in the blades, we can use this real-time radiography, because during the blade manufacturing industry, so where these manufacturing units are continuously flowing across this radiography unit, and then it immediately shows the defects, if any, and that can be discarded, and freshly we can take that the defected one, and for the reprocessing, and produce the good one. In the ordnance industry, explosive charges in the steel casings are examined using the Newton. As I told in the beginning, the steel casing, so it's a little bit very high Z material compared to the other low Z material like carbon nitrogen compositions, because these explosives mainly composes of the low Z elements, so that if it is enclosed in steel casing, the X-ray radiation may not be able to detect those. In that case, a neutron radiography or energy gamma can also be used Yes, but particularly neutron radiography is very helpful in detecting the explosive, because the explosive contains only the low Z material, and the neutron get highly attenuated in the low Z, hence it gives a very high contrast and also very good quantification of the material present in that case. So in aerospace industry, as I told already now, so inspection of turbine engine blades, adhesive in a metallic uneven structures, monitoring of corrosion in the aircraft wings, and inspection of pyro devices used in the space launch vehicles has been carried out by Neutron radiography for the non-destructive evolution of these critical components. So with this, I am going to end. So now the session is open for questions. Dilip, am I audible now? Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much,
So
sir.
now it's open for questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your wonderful talk on radiation science, and also you are giving very important information about the waste management. Thank you very much, sir.
The time, so
it's okay, sir. It's okay. Now, related to our session, so we have few questions, sir. So quickly, I will go through the questions. The first question is it possible to enhance the structure and thermal properties of polymers by irradiating them by gamma rays or neutron rays? And what is the better for irradiation polymer films?
See, actually, so for irradiation, for increasing the mechanical or thermal or other properties, we are generally using gamma radiations or electrons. Neutrons will not going to be used. Neutrons are, as I explained, neutrons are mainly used in radiography and phase sensitive imaging. So because neutrons are very peculiar particles, they can introduce some nuclear reactions. So in turn, it may introduce some radioactivity in the material, right? So that it's not possible to use the neutrons, but we can use this gamma radiations or electrons. So if it is an already well established result are there, so you just deliver the certain amount of dose, predetermined dose, we can get the certain improved properties. I mean, suppose if you want to increase the mechanical property to some extent, the already established results are there. So this much of a dose you need to deliver. Accordingly, we need to deliver. If it is a new material, so you need to do some research on that. You need to do research on that, and then you need to verify what is the improvement in its property. Like that, you can optimize. Go on irradiating with a lower dose to the higher dose. Where it get degrades with higher dose, we need to stop there, and you need to decide at what level the optimum properties are obtained.
Thank you, sir.
Because
and
I think
more.
compared to the gamma radiations, electron irradiation is somewhat easy, which means that these electron accelerators are easy to access. In the sense that these gamma radiation sources are generally isotope-based sources. They are emitting irrespective of you use the source or not. We need to keep these radiation sources always in some radiation shielding. Whereas in the case of electron radiations, these electron radiations are mainly the sources of electron radiation is an accelerators like your microtron or some other betatron or some electron, something like that. So there you will get the radiation only as and when the radiation accelerator is switched on, you will get the radiation. If it is switched off, you will not having any radiation. Maintenance is very easy and easy to accessible.
Okay, sir. Quickly, so a few more questions are there. A polymer, when irradiated, becomes a thermoset material, and what happens to its electrical properties?
See, so definitely, so we can alter the electrical properties, not only the polymers, So it has been established the fact that we can also change the electrical properties of semiconductor devices like transistor, diodes, and even thyristors. This is actually we ourselves have carried out these irradiation effects on electrical properties of these semiconductor devices at Mangalore University Microtron Center. Definitely, we can alter the electrical properties. So
Okay,
we
sir.
can also change the switching properties of this thyristors. You can change the switching properties. So depending upon the damage created due to the radiation, accordingly, so the electrical properties get altered.
Okay, sir. Sir, and one more question. And by using polymer modification technique, is it possible to decompose polythene, that is plastic, to break it?
No, actually, I showed you one diagram. So where in the microtron accelerator, where we have kept this perspex blade, because of the constant
Okay.
exposure, it get degraded. Even such a thick perspex sheet get degraded because of the constant exposure to the radiation.
Okay.
So it is a degradation due to the very high exposure. But if we expose to the certain low dose and even the thin polymer strength mechanical and because of the cross-linking, its strength get increases. But if we expose to the overdose will lead to the degradation. Overload, over delivering of the radiation to the certain material definitely lead to the degradation. The only thing is we need to work out what is the optimum dose for a certain specified polymer. Then only we can decide what dose is optimum for its increase its desired properties.
Okay, sir. And one more. And sir, is irradiation of food item that not affected our body or our health?
No, it actually see irradiating with an electron radiation or gamma radiations, it won't affect our body.
Affected.
Even we are also not see if we use the very high energy gamma rays like say Terra electron energy gamma ray, it may lead to some nuclear reaction. Gamma ray
Okay.
induced nuclear reaction. All of you might have studied. But
Okay.
we have using the energy of the gamma ray such that there will be no nuclear reaction at all. Those
Okay.
energy gamma rays cannot introduce any nuclear reaction. If at all, if any nuclear reaction is there, then only we need to be very careful because it leads to the radioactivity, right?
Okay, sir.
So that is
Okay,
actually
sir.
very dangerous. But the
Okay.
energy of the gamma ray which we are using, like cobalt and even cesium, so they are not at all in a position to introduce any nuclear reactions. So they are not in a position because in order to introduce the nuclear reaction in any atom, we need to have very high energy gamma ray or even very low energy neutrons are can introduce. That is why we are not using the neutron radiation.
Okay, sir. And it is cost effective. And what is the measures and any hazards?
See, of course, cost initial establishing the gamma ray irradiation chambers, initial investment is a little bit high, but once it is established, so there will be maintenance is very easy compared to
Okay.
the other thing. The maintenance is very cheap, but the initial cost is a little bit high. But if anybody will take up interest in the government of India along with the atomic energy, they will establish because many states are taking this advantage. So they are approaching the Department of Atomic Energy. They are providing the technology and other help. The only thing is they will also provide some money for establishing these things because they have all the materials and other technology. Only small amount of space or manpower you need to have. This is what I heard from the BRC people. We can establish very high irradiation chamber for agriculture, food irradiations. In Karnataka, nowhere it is there. Nowhere it
Okay.
is there.
Okay, sir. So the last question, and what is the limit of the dose exposures on humans?
See, actually, this has been fixed by ICRP, International Council for Radiation Protection. Is
Okay.
there? It's a standard body which actually fixes the limits of radiation. So actually, is long after assessing the every days. I mean, after establishing various results continuously, they are actually every year they are changing the limit of radiation exposed to the human beings. So long back it was 15 millisieverts per year, right? 50
Okay. Okay.
millisievert was the limit. If we expose us more than that, you will be asked to stay out of that radiation environment. And it will be different for different person. It will be different for person who are working in the radiation environment zone and the person like us, normal people who are exposed to the environmental radiations, not
Okay.
actually radiation field. Even like suppose if you are working in the accelerator site, or if you are working near the reactor site, that limitations, limit will be little bit high. But for normal people, it will be fixed very low. It is a 25 millisievert. Now it is actually reduced to the 25 millisievert per year. And it is also the effects will be different for different parts of the body. On an average, they are fixing. On an average, they are fixing the 25 millisievert per year is the limit, maximum exposure.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So it is very informative and it is a very good session. And I hope all the participants will like this session. And I will thank on the behalf of Department of Physics and Davangere College of Engineering. I would like to thank Dr. Eshwarappa sir for his wonderful talk on this nuclear science and technology, and also as well as the waste management is very, very important from the point of the nuclear energy. So thank you very much, sir. And also I would like to and also I would like to thank management of VVCE Sangha and principal Dr. B. Sadashive Gowda and Dr. Divakare, our HOD in the Department of Physics with the College of Engineering for their support and for the successful completion of our FDP. And also I would like to thank the organizing committee members, Dr. Sanjay Rani Madam and Professor Karthik and our co-faculty members for conducting this FDP and their support. Thank you very much. And also I would like to heartfelt thanks to our participants for successful completion of this FDP. And also once again, I would like to thank Dr. Eshwarappa sir. Sir, I want to tell anything?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for giving opportunity, and thank all the participants for their patience listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all of you, and thank you one and all. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I leave the now?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.